he told me that you'll probably struggle to conceive when you want to. I got into acupuncture, yoga therapy, Ayurveda, Panchakarma, and I also got into energy healing. That is when I conceived, and I didn't visit a single doctor.
So for anybody watching who has PCOS, they can still conceive.
You, as a woman with PCOS, can ovulate consistently. You have the same chances of conception as another woman without PCOS. Women are given birth control for everything under the sun. It's been given out like it's some sort of vitamin. When it comes to getting pregnant, there is a spiritual aspect to that. And that was the piece that was key in helping me finally conceive when I did. It's very possible to conceive with PCOS.
Hello and welcome to Matcha with Mama. In today's episode, we have Anushree, who is a PCOS and fertility health coach. Her personal experience with PCOS and conceiving naturally without medical intervention fuels her passion. She helps women heal their relationship with their bodies and food, improve fertility at the root level, and reduce PCOS symptoms. Anushree has assisted over 100 women to conceive naturally, improve their overall health, and build self-love and foster confidence. Let us welcome Anushree Mahajan. Hi Anushree. Thank you so much for taking our time and coming here. Anushree, tell me, how did you become interested in PCOS fertility?
It stems from my own journey. I myself was officially diagnosed with PCOS when I was just 15 years old. And I probably struggled with a lot of the symptoms and hormonal imbalance literally from the start of puberty for myself, right? And of course, I did what everyone did in those days, which was almost 2 decades ago, right? Well, went to the doctor and I was put on medication, hormonal birth control, and metformin, which is, for blood sugar imbalance. And I was sent on my way. I guess a cherry on top of that was my first ever conversation with the doctor. He told me that, oh, you'll probably struggle to conceive when you want to. So when you say something like that to a 15-year-old child, you have now input this thought, this limiting belief, this block that they have now got in their minds. And essentially it's something that I carried with me, throughout. And I always had this fear that when I want to have children, will I be able to, right? And some women even have it worse, where the doctor outright says to them, oh, you have PCOS, you can't conceive, right? So it wasn't exactly that, but it was bad enough to where I was always worried about this, Every time I thought about my future family, every time I thought about my future partner, would I be able to have children, So I think the first part of my journey was overcoming PCOS naturally and holistically after being on meds for a decade. So I was on hormonal birth control for 10 years. And that definitely did a number on my body, to say the least, and a number on my fertility as well. And that was a huge disservice that was done to me by the medical community. As a 15-year-old, what responsibility are you going to take, right? If a doctor tells you, you need to take these meds. And of course, my mother didn't know better. There was no other options. Even if you Googled, what do you do with PCOS, right? Back then, it was the exact same information you would get at the doctor's office. Of course, now it's so different, right? Now, there are millions of, PCOS pages and nutritionists and this and that and the other, right? Through my own journey of finally saying, okay, I finally understood, because you're never at least back then, you're not educated by the doctor what hormone birth control is actually doing in your body, right? Essentially, it's shutting down the connection between your brain and your ovaries so that they cannot communicate anymore. And your own hormones are shut down essentially, and you are now providing a synthetic controlled amount of hormones through the pill into your body. And that kind of controls your cycle, and that also blocks ovulation, right? That's what birth control is. It prevents you from getting pregnant, right? So if you know anything about PCOS, you know that fertility is an issue. Why is fertility an issue? Because 90 to 95% of women who have PCOS, who struggle with infertility, it is because they are not ovulating. Why are we then given a medication that further blocks ovulation, that further disrupts the communication between your brain and your ovary? I always say, make it make sense, because it doesn't make sense to me. And that is what is happening, right?
That is, yeah.
And women are not educated on this. So when I finally understood this at the age of 25, I immediately stopped birth control right there and then. And I decided to take matters into my own hands. So I started getting into yoga. I started researching nutrition. I changed my diet. And I really just delved into trying to manage my PCOS, my hormones, my health in the most holistic way that I possibly could. And through that, I was very successful. Of course, I made mistakes. I definitely hopped on the bandwagon of diet culture, hamster wheel of extreme diets, extreme exercise. I did all of those things.
Yeah.
But I learned from those mistakes and I came back from that. So basically, you can ask me if I've tried anything under the sun, and I have.
Okay.
So I come from a place of knowledge and experience when I speak about how to manage PCOS. And then I decided that, there is just not enough information about this out there. And there are so many women who are struggling and don't know any better. They don't have options. And that's why I decided to start my Instagram. I started posting content, and then eventually I created a program and started working with women. And through working with women, I further got their experiences and their the things that worked for them that I then continued to enhance and improve my program with, right?
Okay.
So that's kind of how it all began. And then I went on my own fertility journey where I was ready to try and I was ready to conceive and have a baby. And that was also a journey. But I was very intentional in saying that the medical system is there. It is of value. If I need it, I will seek assistance.
Right.
But that is a last resort. And I live in India where I have access to all of these alternative therapies that have proven to be so beneficial and helpful for people for all ailments, including fertility. So I got into acupuncture, yoga therapy. I did Ayurveda, Panchakarma. I did homeopathy. And I also got into energy healing. And that is when I conceived after doing these things. And I didn't visit a single doctor because I knew that was always there. So if that didn't work, I had given myself an ultimatum, or my husband said, okay, so when are we going to see a doctor? How long can we wait for this?
Yeah.
I said, okay, fine. In June, in June of this year, if it doesn't happen, we'll go. Okay. I conceived in April.
So for anybody watching who has PCOS, however severe the symptoms are, they can still conceive.
Yeah, it really comes down to why are you not able to conceive, right? Because oftentimes women with PCOS may also have additional challenges with conditions like endometriosis or thyroid issues, right? This or some autoimmune issue, right? So if it's solely PCOS, understand that about 90 to 95% of infertility that's related to having PCOS is associated with an ovulation, which means you are not ovulating or you're not ovulating effectively, right? So if you, as a woman with PCOS, can ovulate consistently, you have the same chances of conception as another woman without PCOS who is also ovulating consistently, right? That is the key, right? When we're talking about fertility.
Yeah.
Now, how to get you to ovulate, how to regulate your cycle.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a whole bunch of things that you need to work on. You can do, you can try.
Yeah.
But that is the root, and it is often missed when you go see a doctor, because the first thing the doctor is going to do is say, okay, get a bunch of tests. You get a bunch of tests. They're going to ask, maybe they'll ask you a few questions about your cycle.
Yeah.
Cool. And then they'll say, okay, now you start trying.
Oh, okay.
Try from day 10 to 20 of your cycle and hope for the best, essentially. Right?
Right.
So you try and you're hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow
it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then you take that test and it comes out negative. Now, if you are trying and you're not ovulating, it's going to come out negative. Right? So to save yourself the heartache and the disappointment, first understand how to track ovulation. First understand, do I have a regular cycle? Okay, maybe my cycle is long, right? It happens with a lot of women with PCOS. Maybe I have a 45-day cycle. That doesn't mean that you're not ovulating. It just means you're not going to ovulate in that 10 to 20 days, right?
Right.
But when are you ovulating? That's where tracking your cycle and ovulation come in.
Okay.
And that's where we can, further talk about fertility awareness method to help you do that. But that is the piece that we don't get at the doctor's office. So you might try for a few cycles, you don't conceive. You go back to the doctor. Doctor says, okay, I think I'm going to give you some ovulation induction medication. So you take medication that induces you to ovulate, makes you ovulate, right? But that in itself comes with a lot of other issues. Sometimes you're forcing your body to ovulate when it is not ready. So you might ovulate, but the health of the egg is not optimal.
Yeah.
So you might even conceive, but because the health of the egg or of the sperm is not healthy, what happens? You have a miscarriage, right? So this is so basic. It's unbelievable how basic it is. Yet women don't understand this and they don't know this. I'm not saying it's easy to track your cycle and try to be consistent with that.
Yeah.
But if you genuinely want to conceive and you don't want to just be like praying and hoping, you actually want some sort of method and understanding that, okay, if I try effectively, meaning that I know when I'm ovulating because I'm tracking when ovulation is happening, I'm trying around that time, and then you can hope, sure, but you've tried effectively. So if you have tried effectively for 6 cycles and you still haven't conceived, cool. Let's go to the doctor and say, hey, I'm ovulating. I know I'm ovulating. I'm trying around ovulation. What might be the issue? Is there an issue with male fertility factor? Sperm count, sperm motility, right? Or is there an issue with my egg quality? Do I have blockage in my fallopian tube, right? If there's a blockage with your fallopian tube, then there's a test you can do for that. But it's very painful. So it doesn't make sense to do that test unless there's some evidence to show that you're ovulating, but you're not conceiving, right? So you can do a test to check your fallopian tubes. Maybe my endometrial lining is not thick enough, or it's not nourishing enough, then you can go down that rabbit hole. Right. And after all of that, if still not able to conceive, okay, let's look into IUI. Let's look into IVF. Those should be last resort, because what happens post that? Then what do you do?
Right.
Once you've exhausted that, once you've done several IVF cycles, what do you do? And how hard is IVF on your body?
Yeah. For anybody with PCOS watching, right, trying to conceive, she's hearing this podcast and she's like, oh yeah, I don't know when do I ovulate?
Yeah.
How does she track?
So this is something called fertility awareness method. Okay. So essentially you are observing 3 things, or you can observe 2 out of the 3 things. But the 3 things are cervical position. So how high or low is your cervix?
Okay.
Right. So you can feel and I would say that is the one that people track less, right? So the ones that people track more are cervical discharge, cervical mucus, right? And basal body temperature. Okay. So Basal body temperature, let's start with that, is essentially the core temperature of your body when you literally wake up. You just open your eyes and you take a thermometer and you measure what is your temperature, right? So throughout your cycle, your core body temperature changes, and specifically around ovulation, you will see it increase by point something, right? Or by a degree, 0.5 to 1.5 degrees. You'll see it increase, right? So tracking that every day can help you, can give you one data point on where you are in your cycle, right? Whether you're close to ovulation. The next thing is cervical discharge. And this is the one that's, I would say, the easiest to track, right? Basically, just through observation, what kind of discharge do you have, right? As you might have observed that throughout your cycle, when we did have cycles, before we pregnant,
Right.
your discharge is different, right? Sometimes it's watery, sometimes it's whitish, sometimes it's more mucousy and it's thicker, right?
Yeah.
And that is the fertile cervical mucus, right? The thick, the sticky that you can put between your fingers, and it's again, it's clear.
Okay.
That's another sign that ovulation is near.
Oh, it's near.
It's near.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other way is to use test strips to track LH. So LH is a hormone that it peaks in your urine when you're ovulating. So there are ovulation test strips, just like you do for pregnancy, right? But these are for helping you track ovulation, right?
Interesting.
So the one kind of nuance or caveat on that is that sometimes certain women with PCOS have consistently high LH. And so using LH test strips might not work for them, right? So that's just one small nuance and caveat, right? Just something to be aware of. But generally, tracking cervical discharge, basal body temperature, using these LH test strips, you can actually pinpoint the 1-2 days when you might be ovulating in your cycle. And so generally, they say, oh, ovulation is day 14 of your cycle, right? Your cycle is 28 days, midway is about 14. Let's say 12 to 14. I ovulated on day 24, and that is when Babe was conceived, right? So as a woman with PCOS, you often have longer cycles. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not ovulating, right?
Right.
But it also means that you have to then be very intentional about tracking ovulation, because just saying, okay, I'm going to try from day 10 to 20, you might just miss your window, right? But if you know exactly when you, and who can try every day from day 10 to 20, and how long can you do that for? What is that sustainable, right? It's not. So like, let's use our common sense, right? And say, okay, how can I be precise about when I want to try and precise about when I'm ovulating, and collecting this data consistently. There are apps for it. I also recommend specific test strips for tracking LH. I don't know if you want to share. So the brand is called Easy at Home. Pre-Mom. It's from the US. I used to have my sister get it for me from the US. Amazingly, it's now available in India on Amazon. Very affordable. Very good. Comes with an app where you actually can take a picture of the LH strip. And it gives you an exact level of where your LH is, and you can actually see your LH as it increases as the days go on, and then it tells you when the peak is.
Wow.
It's amazing. This knowledge is so powerful for any woman wanting to conceive, whether you have PCOS or not.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if you're a woman who doesn't have PCOS and you're trying, you still want to try effectively, right? And it's not necessarily that you're going to ovulate on day 14 of your cycle, right?
That's true. No, this knowledge itself, honestly, like, gives me a certain sense of hope. If I was like wanting
and also
to be a mother.
A sense of empowerment that I have the ability to actually collect this data for myself and then try effectively around when exact. And when you see that peak, that positive ovulation, I mean, it's an amazing feeling.
Right.
And especially when you're a woman with PCOS, because you know then things are working in your body.
Right.
And your cycle is working, right? It's an amazing feeling. More than the pregnancy test. No, I'm kidding.
No, I understand that. But it also, like you said, like doctors are prescribing this pills.
Ovulation induction medication.
No, not these.
Hormonal birth control.
Birth control. For somebody having that, would she have this ovulation period?
No.
She would not.
Don't try to track ovulation when you're taking hormonal birth control, because that medication is blocking ovulation. That is the purpose of birth control, right? You are trying to prevent pregnancy by taking birth control. So unfortunately, women are given birth control for everything under the sun, right? It's not just for preventing pregnancy, right? It's for literally any sort of hormonal imbalance, any sort of cyst, any this or that, PCOS, endometriosis, whatever it is.
For acne.
And I'm not going to say that there's no merit to hormonal birth control. There is a time and place and a situation where it makes sense. And also when you take it in a more temporary fashion, rather than taking it for years and years, it has its place. But unfortunately, it's been given out like it's some sort of vitamin that anyone and everyone can just take if you have any sort of menstrual issues, and that solves your problem, send you out the way.
PCOS is a very mentally isolating journey. So what is the biggest emotional or mental health challenge you see women facing today?
A large amount is around this whole idea of infertility and conception, right? For a lot of women. I think nowadays there's a lot of information on social media where women are talking very openly about PCOS, and now it's just a very common thing. You can have a very casual conversation with anyone, honestly, any other woman about having PCOS, right? Because now, unfortunately, it's just so common. I mean, it's great that everyone is happy to talk about it, and yes, we're having conversations, we're trying to, make it less isolating, but it's also, why does everyone have PCOS?
Why does everyone have PCOS?
Really, it comes down to the kind of lifestyles that we live, and the stressful lifestyles, the toxic environments in which we live in. Our food is, full of pesticides. It's toxic as well. Our water, and then unhealthy eating. Poor lifestyle, essentially. But then what's not in our control is the environment. Unless we pick up and we get out of the urban cities, right? And we go and live in the villages and in nature, we are just constantly exposed to some of these things.
Right.
What you can do is kind of limit the use of certain cosmetic products, especially ones which have a lot of fragrance in it. You can clean out, your products. You can use even home cleaning supplies, even clothes washing, dishwashing. And then everything you put on your skin absorbs into your bloodstream, right? So those are endocrine disruptors. Endocrine disruptor means that it's a molecule which can actually act, or it looks like an estrogen molecule, right? So it acts as that in your body. It's like you have excess estrogen when it's actually because of these chemicals, these endocrine disruptors, right?
Interesting.
And then also seed oils, right? So oils that are any oil that is made out of seed, right, is a seed oil, polyunsaturated fatty acids. These are very inflammatory. They're also endocrine disruptors, and they cause a lot of harm in the body.
So give us, Anushree, some simple, even something like this, right? Seed oils. I don't think a lot of people are aware of it at all.
They're not,
I was aware that it's not good for me, so I don't consume it. I was not aware what it actually does to your body.
Right.
So for people in general watching, some practical lifestyle changes that you would advise them to immediately, take on if they're open to it?
So switching from that canola oil or that mustard seed oil or that sunflower oil, switching from that and opting for saturated fatty acid sources, things like ghee, which is native to our country, right? It was actually from the West that these seed oils were brought and the concept began, right? But what is native to our country is ghee, right? Butter, coconut oil. Kerala is all about coconut oil, and I think that's very beneficial, right? And in some situations, olive oil as well. It's just that when olive oil is heated too high, it can start to adopt some of those properties of polyunsaturated fatty acids.
Okay.
So focus on ghee, butter, coconut oil, sometimes olive oil, especially when it's not heated.
Okay.
What drives a lot of PCOS symptoms stems from something called insulin resistance.
Okay.
So insulin resistance is not being able to balance blood sugar in your body.
Okay.
And you're essentially resistant to the hormone that allows your cells to take up sugar and use it for energy. And so your cells are not taking up the sugar. The sugar is just flowing in your bloodstream. Your body is like, we need to get rid of the sugar. What do? We store it as fat.
Oh, okay.
And so any sort of health lifestyle habits that can improve insulin resistance, such as eating balanced meals, not overeating carbohydrates, making sure you're consuming a good amount of protein at every meal, right? This is what balances blood sugar. Exercise helps, but it doesn't have to be you know, exhausting it out in the gym. You could literally be going for a 45-minute walk.
Okay.
That's going to help you use up excess glucose in your bloodstream, right? Strength training helps your muscles use excess glucose. Sleep is so important. One thing you can try and notice is that if there's any day where you've gotten less sleep, which I'm sure there's many days with your baby, you might notice that you have an extra craving for sweet things or carbohydrates, right?
Right, yeah.
So getting enough sleep. So unfortunately, whenever I tell women this, they're like, what? Women need about 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night. Let's not talk about us. We're mothers.
Yeah.
We're new mothers. It doesn't count. We don't count. I'm saying other women.
I agree. Yeah.
So you actually need more sleep than men.
Yeah.
8 to 10 hours. So if you are getting more sleep than your partner and you're like, you need it.
Yeah.
So don't actually just embrace it. Just be like, yeah, I need it. We're women. We need that.
Yeah. Show them this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So 8 to 10 hours of sleep. And the hardest thing, managing stress. It really, that's the hardest thing.
Yeah, but in today's day and age, I'm sure there are ways to do it, right? Even if
Yeah, so I think stress kind of shows up in many different levels, right? So of course, there is that day-to-day stress of work stress or sitting in traffic stress or financial stress or whatever, that day-to-day stress that you experience, right? And of course, practicing daily habits like meditation or taking some time for yourself, reading a book, maybe doing some yoga, going for a walk. Sure, these things help, right? But then there's another level of stress, stress that is associated with a nervous system that is in a fight or flight state, right? So if you are someone who has been under chronic stress for years and years, oftentimes your nervous system is stuck in the state of fight or flight. So much so that even when you're sleeping, your nervous system is on.
wow.
And when you are in this state, your body cannot do certain things effectively, like rest, digest, and heal. So parasympathetic, that's the parasympathetic. Sympathetic is when you're in the stress state, right? Fight, flight, freeze. That is, that's the sympathetic state of your nervous system. When you're in the parasympathetic, that's when you rest, that's when you digest, that's when you heal. And if you have been chronically stressed for several years, your nervous system can get stuck in the sympathetic state, which can prevent you from resting effectively, from digesting effectively, and from healing. So oftentimes you can see people who are highly stressed also have a lot of gut issues.
Yeah.
Because they're not able to effectively digest, because their nervous system is just in this state of fight or flight.
Yeah.
Right? So when you are in danger, right, fight or flight, your body is not thinking, oh, I need to digest this sandwich, right? Your body is thinking, okay, we need to get ready to move or fight or do something, right? So resources are not, and blood flow is not sent to your gut to help you with digesting food, right?
Okay.
So that's the nervous system level of stress, right? And there's also then stress associated with maybe past trauma, right? So if you have not gone through that journey of processing trauma and things that have happened in your past, that can also be a layer of stress that you're experiencing. So it's a multifold kind of thing. And I don't want to boil down stress to, oh, just do meditation and yoga. You know, it's not about that, right? And I think that's misleading. Yeah.
Okay. You spoke about how you help women in general conceive naturally and in general with PCOS symptoms. If they still want to have a gynac, right, in the picture, and they want to have you as a coach, how does that work out?
When you're working with a gynac, I don't know that it's very common for a woman to be consistently, kind of working with a gynac. Like, okay, I'm seeing my gynac every month, right? That's not a thing. It's more like a one-time thing where after if it depends on your goals. Like if you're trying to conceive, then maybe you'll see them every couple of months, right? When you're working with a coach, you're working with a coach consistently. Like that's when it is effective that you are consistently in touch with your coach. So if someone was working with me, I would be speaking to them, having a coaching session once a week, every week. And that consistency enables you to then build those healthy habits and make those changes that you need to make to help you improve your health, right?
Okay.
So I think the kind of relationship that one should look at when we're talking about working with a gynac and a coach, and you as the individual, what does that dynamic look like, right? I think a gynac can be very helpful for you to get a diagnosis if you have PCOS or you have endometriosis or you have anything else, right? They can give you the relevant testing that you need to do in order to figure out what's going on. Like give us let's get a view of what's going on in your body from testing and other medical standpoint, right? And also get diagnosis and also to prescribe you medication, right? If you need medication. And then when you work with a coach, it's really about approaching things from the lifestyle point of view, right? So how do we improve your nutrition, movement, sleep, stress management, and look at appropriate supplementation and also mindset work, right? We need to also see where you are in your mindset and are there blocks that are preventing you from moving the needle in your health that are actually just in your mind that have nothing to do with your habits, right? So that's a big part of what we do together. But you as the individual, you have the responsibility to make the right decisions for yourself. That it's not what the gynac says is what you have to do. It's not what the coach says you have to do it, right? You have to take that responsibility and say, does this feel aligned? Do I agree with this? Do I trust this gynac? Do I trust this coach? Do I trust their judgment? Do I trust that what they're recommending makes sense for me or even works for my lifestyle or my goals or my morals or whatever it is, right? If it doesn't with the gynac, find another gynac, get a second opinion. You have the power to do that. It's not like all the gynacs are sitting together in one room and saying, oh, we saw this patient. And now she's going to you. I feel like sometimes we have, thoughts like that, but there's nothing like that, So you have the power to find and work with doctors who are more in alignment with you. And the same with a coach. You don't have to just do whatever they say, right? It has to be a collaboration that this makes sense for me in the context of myself. I know myself. It makes sense for me to do XYZ rather than ABC because I know what I will actually be motivated to do and what I won't be motivated to do. If your coach says you need to be in the gym for an hour every day, you need to get a personal trainer, and you're actually someone who like hates the idea of going to a gym. Like I don't want other people to be watching me when I'm in the gym. And I don't want a personal trainer. You know, I prefer watching YouTube videos and like doing workouts, you know, at my own pace on a YouTube video. Or I prefer going for a nice long walk. That's what, you know, fits well into my lifestyle. And also it's something I enjoy and I'll be able to be consistent with, right? So that's your responsibility to tell that to the coach and work with the coach in a way that's collaborative rather than this is what my coach said I have to do. So I have to do this and I have to eat this diet and I have to work out on this way. Or this is what my gynec said, I have to take these medications, so I have to take them.
Right.
No, but that's not necessary. You don't have to do that. And I think women don't understand that, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to. You can make that choice.
I want to touch base on the woo-woo stuff that we were talking about in the previous conversation. So if somebody's following a holistic journey in trying to conceive somebody with PCOS, and is there a possibility that they are mentally, emotionally not ready to receive and conceive?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think a lot of women miss that piece, unfortunately, because they are so hung up on the physical, right? And what the doctor is saying and what the tests are saying and what the IVF is doing or whatever it is, right? But we also have to understand that when it comes to getting pregnant, there is a spiritual aspect to that, right? Of course, there's also a very emotional aspect to it. And you also have to create space in your life, right? It's not just about getting pregnant. But if you really don't have room in your life, that you have a hectic career or for whatever reason, things are not working out in your relationship with your partner, right? These are just examples, right? You won't be able to create space to allow for something like that to come into your life, to allow for that energy to come in, to allow for the soul of your baby to come to you, right? And I think that was something that was very powerful that I did, is I worked with a homeopathy doctor who's also an expert in energy healing. And we did a few sessions of energy healing, and that's when I conceived. Like while I was in the midst of doing those sessions with her is when I conceived. Now, I won't say that all the other things I did didn't help. Of course they did, right? But I think that piece that I was missing was I wasn't able to open up and surrender to the universe to allow the soul of my baby to come to me. For whatever reason, I was blocking that. There was a guard up. There was no surrender, right? So how can something come in if you don't open up and let it in? And that was the piece that I think was key in helping me finally conceive when I did.
Wow. I think that's, if you understand this part, I feel like there are two kinds of people, right? Either they are open to understanding this and others are like, what, I'm going to shut this podcast. You know? But I feel like it's very important because everything is connected to your mind, right?
Yeah, everything.
So if you, like you said, unless you surrender and open yourself, that might be something that's blocking you.
Yeah, that might be a blockage for you. Like if you've done everything under the sun, does it hurt to explore some of this?
For somebody watching with PCOS and trying to conceive, who's tried everything that they possibly can, any piece of advice?
It's very possible to conceive with PCOS, right? So understand the same thing that I mentioned before, that as a woman with PCOS, if you are ovulating, your chances of conception are the same as a woman without PCOS who is ovulating, right? So I think to begin with, we already have this block, oh, PCOS, that means fertility issues, right? And we put ourselves in this bucket of infertility just automatically, because that is what is perpetuated. It really comes down to ovulation. If you're ovulating and you can track that and you can try around that, you're trying effectively, it's very possible to conceive. Now, if you've done that and you're still on your journey and it's not working out, maybe look into the medical route, right? Okay, maybe you have already looked into the medical route and still it's not working out. That's when I would say maybe you need to explore the more woo-woo spiritual side of things. Maybe you need to do inner work. So one other thing that I did was I took a womb healing workshop. And that in itself was very healing for me, right? That maybe there are things that I've kept in my womb, energy, emotions, that again are preventing me from creating space. So I need to let go of that, right? There's so many things out there. What is meant for you and what you need to do will come to you. Right? So trust that, because there's so many things. Yes, we know there's so many things. It's never ending, right? But what you need and what is meant for you, trust that it'll come to you, and you will know that this is maybe the direction I should go in.
And how do people get in touch with you?
The easiest way is to reach out to me on Instagram. So DM me at Coach Anush. So COACHNUSH, Coach Anush. Maybe even DM me a WhatsApp number and I will then WhatsApp you and get in touch that way, and we can discuss potentially working together, or we can just have a conversation.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks,
today.
Deepika.